Picture this. It's 1965, and Britain is buzzing with revolutionary change. The Beatles are topping charts, miniskirts are scandalizing parents, and youth culture is exploding nationwide. Yet beneath this whirlwind of transformation, millions of ordinary Britons were quietly following rituals and customs that had shaped their lives for generations. These weren't grand gestures or headline-worthy moments. They were the small, everyday practices that wove communities together and defined what it meant to be British. Today, most of these habits have vanished completely, swept away by technology, changing values, and the relentless pace of modern life. What we've lost isn't just a collection of quaint customs, it's an entire way of being in the world. These 10 forgotten practices reveal a Britain built on patience, pride, and genuine human connection. Let's step back in time and rediscover what made the 1960s so distinctly different from today. Imagine having just one television in your entire house, no remote control, no streaming services, no ability to pause or rewind. In 1960s Britain, that single black and white box in the living room commanded absolute respect and brought families together like nothing else could. Every evening became a carefully orchestrated event. Parents would settle into their favorite armchairs while children claimed spots on the carpet, cross-legged and attentive. The television schedule ruled household routines. Dinner was timed around the evening news, and bedtime negotiations revolved around whether you could stay up for one more program. Missing your favorite show meant it was gone forever, or at least until the rare rerun appeared months later. This scarcity made television feel precious and communal. Everyone watched the same programs at the same time, creating shared experiences that sparked conversations lasting long after the credits rolled. The living room transformed into a miniature theater where families shared genuine moments of connection. Laughter erupted simultaneously, gasps echoed through the room during dramatic scenes, and comfortable silences settled over everyone during quieter moments. Television wasn't background noise, it was the main event that demanded your full attention and brought people together in ways our fragmented, screen-saturated world struggles to replicate. Before instant messaging and video calls, maintaining relationships required something far more deliberate and meaningful: the art of letter writing. In 1960s Britain, putting pen to paper wasn't reserved for special occasions, it was how people stayed connected across distances both great and small. The ritual began with selecting the right stationery, choosing words carefully, and crafting sentences that captured exactly what you wanted to say. Handwriting mattered enormously. People took genuine pride in their penmanship, knowing their script would be scrutinized and cherished by the recipient. Each letter represented a significant investment of time and emotion. Writers would draft, revise, and perfect their messages before committing them to the final page. Envelopes were addressed with meticulous care, stamps selected thoughtfully, and everything sealed with the knowledge that your words would travel for days before reaching their destination. The anticipation of waiting for replies taught patience in ways our instant gratification culture can barely comprehend. When letters finally arrived, they were treasured possessions, read multiple times, carefully preserved in drawers, and often tied with ribbons as keepsakes. These handwritten missives carried something intangible that digital communication simply cannot match: the physical presence of the sender. Every loop and flourish revealed personality, mood, and care in ways that typed text never could. Money had weight in the 1960s, literally. Coins clinked in purses, paper notes were folded with care, and every transaction involved the physical act of handing over something tangible. This wasn't just about payment methods. It was about understanding the true value of money through direct, sensory experience. Budgeting was a physical exercise. Housewives would divide their weekly earnings into labeled envelopes: rent, groceries, savings, and entertainment. The envelope system made financial planning visible and concrete. When the grocery envelope was empty, you knew exactly where you stood. No hidden fees, no mysterious charges, no overdraft surprises. Children learned about money by feeling coins in their pockets, counting pennies for sweets, and understanding that spending meant something real, leaving their possessions. The weight of coins taught lessons about value that plastic cards simply cannot convey. Shop transactions were personal affairs. Shopkeepers counted change aloud, receipts were handwritten, and every exchange involved human interaction. Trust was built through face-to-face dealings rather than digital verification systems. This tangible relationship with money fostered a natural discipline and respect for earning and spending that today's abstract financial systems struggle to instill. Long before smartphones stored unlimited contacts, British minds served as personal telephone directories. Memorizing phone numbers wasn't just helpful, it was absolutely essential for maintaining relationships and handling emergencies. Rotary phones demanded precision and patience. Each digit required deliberate action, and a single mistake meant starting the entire process over again. Getting someone's phone number was a mark of trust and intimacy. It meant they considered you important enough to remember. Children were drilled on memorizing their home number, parents' work numbers, and emergency contacts. These digits became as familiar as nursery rhymes, embedded so deeply in memory that many people from that era can still recite numbers they haven't dialed in decades. Telephone directories were treasured household items, thick books that lived beside every phone, pages worn thin from constant use. Looking up a number required effort and intention. You couldn't simply ask a device to call mom. This mental exercise strengthened memory in ways our externalized digital storage cannot. When your brain was your primary database, you developed cognitive skills and formed deeper connections with the information you chose to retain. Perhaps no other practice defined British character in the 1960s quite like the sacred ritual of queuing. From post offices to bus stops, cinema ticket counters to butcher shops, orderly lines formed naturally and were maintained with unwavering respect. Jumping the queue wasn't just rude, it was practically unthinkable. The system operated on pure social honor, with unspoken rules that everyone understood and followed. Your place in line was sacred, defended by the collective disapproval of fellow queuers and your own sense of fairness. These waiting lines became temporary communities. Strangers would strike up conversations about the weather, rising prices, or local events. Shared sighs over long waits or gentle humor about bureaucratic inefficiencies created bonds between people who might never meet again. Patience wasn't just tolerated during queuing, it was celebrated as a virtue. Complaints were rare, even when lines stretched down pavements in miserable weather. People accepted waiting as part of life, understanding that good things required patience and that everyone deserved their fair turn. The queue represented something deeper than mere organization. It embodied fairness, mutual respect, and the collective agreement that civilization required certain shared standards of behavior. Every morning began with the rustle of fresh newsprint and the ritual of unfolding your daily paper. Newspapers weren't just information sources, they were trusted companions that shaped opinions, sparked debates, and provided the shared knowledge that bound communities together. Papers were purchased religiously, folded under arms during commutes, and spread across kitchen tables alongside morning tea. The daily news cycle moved at a measured pace, allowing stories to develop weight and significance rather than disappearing in endless digital streams. Reading the newspaper was a deliberate, focused activity. People would work through sections methodically, news first, then sports, perhaps the crossword puzzle, and maybe a glance at the horoscope. Children learned early to navigate these pages, searching for comics or football scores while absorbing. The rhythm of print journalism. Office lunch breaks revolved around newspaper discussions. Colleagues would debate headlines, share interesting stories, and build relationships through shared reactions to current events. The newspaper provided common ground for conversations between strangers and friends alike. Trust in print media ran deep because sources were known, journalists had established reputations, and the physical nature of newspapers lent authority to their contents. Information felt permanent and reliable in ways that today's constantly updated digital news cannot match. When something broke in 1960s Britain, the first instinct wasn't to buy a replacement, it was to figure out how to repair it. This wasn't just about saving money. It was about self-reliance, pride, and the satisfaction of solving problems. With your own hands, fathers taught sons the basics of household repair, passing down knowledge through direct demonstration. Neighbors freely shared tools and expertise over garden fences, creating informal networks of mutual support and learning. Hardware stores bustled with customers, seeking specific parts, washers, screws, glue, spare components for radios and appliances. Shop owners knew their inventory intimately and could recommend exactly what you needed for any repair job. The process of fixing things taught patience and problem-solving skills that no tutorial could match. Hands grew calloused, mistakes became learning experiences, and success brought genuine satisfaction that money couldn't buy. This repair culture fostered a deep sense of ownership and responsibility. Objects weren't disposable commodities, but valuable possessions worth maintaining and preserving. The skill to fix what was broken represented competence and independence that commanded respect. Monday mornings across Britain revealed a synchronized dance as washing lines stretched from fence to fence, heavy with sheets, shirts, and school uniforms swaying in the breeze. This wasn't just about drying clothes, it was a visible display of domestic pride and community rhythm. Weather became critically important. Sunny days brought joy and opportunity, while unexpected rain sent mothers rushing to rescue their washing. The fresh scent of wind-dried laundry created an aroma no appliance could replicate. Hanging clothes properly was both an art and a competition. Neighbors would subtly judge not just the whiteness of sheets, but also the efficiency and aesthetics of drying techniques. Peg bags hung like tools of the trade, ready for the weekly performance. The washing line connected private domestic life with public community space. Children played between fluttering garments, and conversations carried over garden fences while securing clothespins and checking the sky for weather changes. This simple practice embodied resourcefulness, environmental awareness, and the willingness to work with natural rhythms. Rather than fighting against them, every meal in 1960s Britain was a lesson in discipline, respect, and proper behavior. From elaborate Sunday roasts to simple weekday suppers, dining carried expectations that went far beyond simply consuming food. Children learned the rules early and thoroughly: elbows off the table, napkins on laps, chewing with mouths closed, asking politely for seconds rather than assuming they were available. Corrections came swiftly and were expected to result in immediate improvement. Family meals were a sacred time when everyone gathered without distractions. No television, no radio, no outside interruptions, just conversation, proper cutlery used, and the quiet reinforcement of social values through daily practice. These dining rituals reflected your upbringing and family values. Good table manners brought quiet approval from elders and demonstrated respect for both food and fellow diners. Even casual meals carried these expectations. The dinner table served as a classroom, where children absorbed lessons about patience, gratitude, and consideration for others. These daily practices shaped character in ways that extended far beyond mealtime behavior. Walking down any British street in the 1960s meant exchanging polite acknowledgements with nearly everyone you encountered. A simple good morning or courteous nod wasn't exceptional behavior. It was the basic social fabric that held communities together. Neighbors, postmen, shopkeepers, and even strangers received these small gestures of recognition. It wasn't about friendship or deep connection. It was about basic human decency and the re-acknowledgement that others existed and mattered in your shared space. Children were trained from an early age to greet adults properly with clear voices and direct eye contact. Good manners reflected well on families. While lapses brought swift correction and genuine embarrassment, even brief encounters on buses or in queues often included light conversation, comments about the weather, gentle complaints about rising prices, or simple observations that eased the monotony of daily routines. These automatic courtesies created a social warmth that made public spaces feel safer and more connected. Politeness was expected rather than praised, creating a baseline of civility that made community life more pleasant for everyone. Today, these practices seem almost foreign to our hurried, digitized, individualistic world. We've gained tremendous convenience and technological capability, but we've also lost something precious: the small rituals that created genuine human connection and taught valuable life lessons through daily repetition. The 1960s weren't perfect, but these forgotten habits reveal a way of living that prioritized patience over speed, community over convenience, and personal responsibility over instant gratification. Perhaps there's wisdom in these old ways that deserves remembering, not as nostalgia for a bygone era, but as inspiration for creating more meaningful connections in our own time.